Oh. No new cases of COVID-19 in Muskoka. Deputy Premier Christine Elliott joins Your TV for an exclusive interview. And delivering goodness to those who need it most. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for April 15th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. And our top local story, only 6 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the Simcoe-Muskoka catchment area, with no new reported cases in Muskoka specifically. Dr. Charles Gardner also confirmed dozens of tests have taken place between Bracebridge and Huntsville's testing centers. He also gave cautiously optimistic outlook, stating the epidemic curve has evened out slightly, but said that shouldn't mean anyone should start pulling back on current measures they've personally taken to stop the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, on the provincial front, the province has announced new measures to help combat COVID-19 outbreaks in long-term care homes. And now joining me on the phone is Minister Christine Elliott. And thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time for doing this today.
Oh, thank you for having me join you, James. Thank you.
So, Minister Elliott, the one thing I do want to talk to you about off the top here is the updates to the long-term care home plan that were announced by Premier Ford today. Can you kind of, first of all, just break down how the province is going to be dealing with the long-term care homes now?
Well, we know that there is a problem in our long-term care homes, that there have been a number of outbreaks of COVID-19. This is a very vulnerable population, so we've heard several of the public health experts say that we need to bring an iron band around them. So what we're trying to do is further protect them, to make sure that we test all residents of long-term care homes where there has been an outbreak, and we're also going to conduct some testing in places where there have not been any outbreaks, so that we understand a little bit better about how it does advance. So we want to make sure that we can do more testing. We also want to make sure that we can bring in more people to work in long-term care homes, whether that's from home and community care sector or the hospital sector. We know that they need more assistance, and we need to make sure that we have the best education available for staff on the use of personal protective equipment. They are all now going to be required to wear surgical masks throughout their shifts. So we need to give them some more education on proper use of this, and also proper cleaning and other protocols.
So, Minister, there's some discussion here that, there has been an issue in long-term care homes in Ontario for quite a while, and there's been calls for change. What, at this point now, will you be looking at doing to bring these changes to these long-term care homes and deal with issues like this, because we could see COVID-19 swing back around again in the next season?
Well, yes, and unfortunately what is happening in Ontario is happening elsewhere across Canada and throughout the world. But I think that just this experience with COVID-19 has given us some specific insights into concerns. One is the fact that there are a number of people who are working at 2 or 3, perhaps, long-term care homes or retirement homes, other homes of congregate living. And so now there is a requirement that they only work at one location. That will be really important for infection control going forward. Even though this is a temporary measure, it is something that I think that we need to examine in greater detail once we've gone through the pandemic.
Will there be an opportunity to look at salaries for PSWs? Because I know that has been an issue in terms of why they're working at multiple homes.
Well, I know that it has been a financial problem for a number of people. That is why they have had to take work in a number of homes. But what we're hoping to solidify is that they may be able to receive the hours that they need in only one location. So that is something that that we do need to take a look at going forward, and to make sure that that they are able to make a living doing that work in one place.
I just want to stick on the long-term care homes for another sec here, and just ask you now, the question came yesterday that whether long-term care homes were all getting the necessary PPE equipment that has been pulled into the province. Is that a situation that's happening now, or are we seeing this spread of equipment evenly out throughout these homes?
Absolutely, yes. This is something that we, throughout the course of the weekend, since the order was made, this has been distributed throughout the province with homes, and we actually yesterday we received another 7 million surgical masks that are, as soon as they come to us, they are being distributed because we know that people need them. Fantastic.
So switching now to the testing, there's been some discussion about these blood tests, having a faster, test rate. And the province has been looking at, pushing up its testing rates as well. Is there any chance Ontario could be looking at using these quicker tests anytime soon?
Absolutely, yes. We are looking at boosting our testing. We by tomorrow, so for the full day of April 15th, we expect to be at 8,000 tests per day. That is what the goal that we were aiming for, and then of course we're going to continue to multiply those tests afterwards. But yes, we are looking at some of those tests that have a shorter time frame for receiving the diagnosis, yes or no, for COVID-19. We have entered into an agreement with Spartan Pharmaceuticals. They have just had their test to be approved by Health Canada, and we anticipate that those tests will be very helpful for uses in some of the fly-in communities, some of the First Nations fly-in communities, and some of the other areas in northwestern, northeastern Ontario, where it's difficult to ship the traditional test samples to labs to be analyzed. So I think we will be relying more on those types of tests, but we'll still use the regular tests as well.
Now, Minister, there's always been this discussion about the surge coming to Ontario and the surge in Canada. We really haven't seen a surge yet. Is there a possibility that we may have avoided that because we're starting to see a flattening of the curve?
Well, I think it's a little early to say that yet. We can't, this is not a time for any of us to sit back and become complacent because we don't know what's around the corner. But I would say that some of the measures that were put into place very early on, restricting groups of people, asking people to stay home, making sure that, if you need to go out, just go out for food or medication. I think that has had an influence, but we're far from being through this yet.
All right, Minister, I have one last question for you, and I did ask the Premier this. I'm going to ask you this as well. How are you doing personally?
I'm doing well, thank you. I am just so thankful to the people of Ontario, and especially to our frontline healthcare providers they're the real heroes in this, going to work each and every day. And our job is to make sure that they have the personal protective equipment and that they need, as well as the ventilators and hospital space. So that's what we're spending all of our time on. But I think that it's really important that everybody continue doing the work that they're doing. We have asked people not to travel to their recreational properties to stay in their own home communities, because I know that that's difficult for some smaller communities that do have a lot of vacation properties within them, to provide sort of basic supplies, not to mention hospital and health supplies. So we will continue to voice that message, but the people have been great in following the directives and so on that have been put forward by the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and of course we're going to continue to abide by his direction as well.
All right, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health for Ontario, Christine Elliott, thank you very much for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you, James.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Joining us once again is RMP Scott Aitchison. Scott, thanks very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, James.
So we're going to have an important conversation about what's going to be happening with business in Muskoka, because I mean this is a turbulent time for these local businesses, and you have decided to reach out and hold a roundtable to have a discussion on this. So tell me a bit about this meeting that's happening tomorrow.
Sure. I've been speaking, of course, with a lot of local business owners one-on-one through phone and instant message and email. And, a lot of the messages that I'm hearing from these business owners is similar across the riding. One of the biggest issues, of course, is that, many of the programs for business that have been announced by the federal government, many local businesses, small business, truly small businesses, and particularly those that are, driven by tourism activity, are just not really captured by those programs. And so I've been hearing, suggestions for things that could be done to improve those programs and different programs that could help them out. And so this would be an opportunity really for all of us to talk together. Norm Miller is going to participate in all of them, and I'm coordinating them all over the riding with the local, mayors and economic development folks as well. So, it's an opportunity for business owners to meet with effectively all three levels of their representation. I also am hopeful that we have some discussion about what recovery looks like, and when it's safe to do so, when we can start opening up again and rebuilding. That's going to be a long, difficult process, and I think that it's important for us to have a plan. And so the more ideas that I get from small business owners, the better informed the discussions we will have in Ottawa about how we go about that.
So tomorrow's, to reference tomorrow's, will be the Lake of Bays Huntsville discussion. What kinds of things are you hoping to hear from business owners?
Well, I'm hoping to hear not just the problems, but hopefully some ideas as well. I think that small business is the lifeblood of our communities and our economy and our country. Really, these are innovative, entrepreneurial people, and they're going to have a lot of ideas to share with me because they're the ones that are on the ground and dealing with these issues every day. And so it's important for me to hear from them. I'm not obviously an expert on all things, and I certainly don't have a monopoly on all the good ideas in the world. And so I hope to hear some great ideas from small business, and so that we can then, share those ideas and help form a plan to help them now and a plan to help them rebuild and get our economy going again in the future.
Scott, there's discussions about whether or not this might come back around again. So is there an opportunity here to also build a strategy just in case we do have this happen next year or in the future?
Absolutely. This is one of the, just as one example of some of the ways that local businesses are trying to stay operating, even on a smaller scale, is to have more of an online presence, do online sales. And therein lies one of the biggest challenges we face in this riding. Rural internet access and broadband access is abysmal in this part of the country, and it is across rural Canada. It's one of the issues. It's one of the few times I have been able to stand up in Parliament so far as a new MP. That's one of the issues I raised because it is such an important issue in our community and all across the country. So I think that as part of a strategy coming out of this to deal with whatever may come down the road again, we need to have a true national strategy to expand rural broadband internet access and make sure that if once again for some reason businesses are forced to operate online, families are supposed to work at home, and children are supposed to study at their schoolwork at home, all via mediocre internet service. We need to have a better strategy to deal with that, and I think that the federal government has an important role to play there, and they need to step up to the plate. This is today's modern infrastructure, and we're not doing it nearly enough.
So again, Scott, tomorrow's is Huntsville Lake of Bays Chamber. Do you have dates set for the Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, Muskoka Lakes Chambers yet?
Yeah, just confirming with the mayors of those communities, we're looking tentatively for Tuesday morning for Bracebridge and Muskoka Lakes together. Monday evening, I guess, hopefully for the Parry Sound area. Looking at Thursday morning for Gravenhurst and Georgian Bay, and then Thursday evening for the East Parry Sound communities, Burks Falls, South River, Sundridge, and the other communities that might want to be involved as well.
Fantastic. Scott Aitchison, thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thank you, James.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Hello. Welcome back. And as we know, studies have moved from class to online. But the question is, how are local students dealing with this change? Well, I checked in with 2 local students to find out. For nearly a month now, schools across Muskoka and Ontario have been closed due to COVID-19. These steps in Huntsville that are usually so busy with kids haven't been used for weeks, and the building is dark and empty. But that doesn't mean there isn't still learning happening. It's just moved from class to the internet. Your TV Muskoka got an inside look at how these kids are dealing with this new way of learning by speaking to two students from Huntsville High School, Kennedy Watson-Brown and Cindy Brinklow. Watson-Brown says she's pleased with the setup so far.
I'm very much a learner who needs to be in class, but right now I think it's going really well having the interaction online, and I'm still able to use Google Classroom, which is really helpful for writing and reading, and so I have access to all of those like websites and technology, and so that's been really helpful. This first week has been going really well, though. I'd say I didn't know what to expect. It's all very brand new to me, using Google Meet, Skyping in, stuff like that. But no, it's been going really well.
While students aren't physically in class, they do have interactive in-class sessions, which Brinklow says is helpful to keep her on task.
Most teachers have gotten structured time frames of when we are in class and not in class. So they'll schedule meets and kind of work period times, like a guideline of you should be doing this much work per day. So it's kind of open-ended on when we choose to do the work, but we know like during the day, there's certain periods of time where the work should be completed. And it's usually by week that they assign work. So it's not day by day, but it's like throughout the week, you're going to have these projects. So when you can get them done, but we'll be working in these sections of time. Because when we do the talks online, everyone else in the class is on there as well. So you can communicate with other people in the class, not just the teachers.
And how are the girls feeling about being away from their friends during this pandemic?
It's hard not being like around my friends and stuff and just stuck at home.
I'm kind of introverted, so I mean, I still keep in contact with my friends just to make sure that they're okay and their families are safe and well. I wouldn't say it's taken a real toll on me yet. It might in the next few weeks, depending on how this goes. I'm just really making sure that everyone is safe and healthy and they're practicing their social distancing right now. It's just really worrisome, and so I'm just making sure that they feel okay right now.
And now it was announced just yesterday by Premier Doug Ford that emergency measures, including school closures, will be extended another 28 days, and that means schools will not be opening by May the 4th. So these students may need to get used to doing this type of learning for the foreseeable future. We are taking another break, but stay tuned for more after this. That shot taken earlier today, just proof that just because it's spring doesn't mean we're not going to see some winter-like conditions. Mother Nature always has a little bit of an ace up her sleeve. Now, across the region, many local groups and organizations are helping during the COVID-19 crisis, including the Gravenhurst Lions Club.
Today we're partnering with McDonald's restaurants to deliver and supply coffee and snacks to some of the frontline healthcare workers in our community. Today it's Muskoka Shores Nursing Home. We received funding from Lions Club of Gravenhurst Foundation, emergency grant funding specifically for COVID-19. And we really wanted to help those people who are really helping members of our community. And in our conversations with hospitals and nursing homes, they said one of the challenges is for the frontline staff to actually get out and take that time to have a break or a snack, because they're just working so hard right now. And in some ways putting their lives at risk too. So we want to just reach out and help them and support them as much as we can and show them that they're a valuable member of our community.
And so really you guys are stepping up in a big way. Talk about everything that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so recently our local club just donated $10,000 towards the local Salvation Army food bank. And that's because during this time when people are out of work or their hours have been cut and reduced, food insecurity becomes a major issue in our community. It's always been an issue, but I think especially now it's more important and more critical that community groups band together and come together to really stop hunger in our communities.
All right, we are going to take our last break, but when we come back, we'll get a recap of today's headlines. Welcome back. Here's a recap of what we heard today. Only 6 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the Simcoe-Muskoka catchment area, with no new reported cases in Muskoka specifically. And Dr. Charles Gardner also confirming dozens of tests taking place between Bracebridge and Huntsville's testing centers. He also gave a cautiously optimistic outlook, stating the epidemic curve has evened out slightly, but said that shouldn't mean anyone should start pulling back on current measures they're taking to stop the spread of COVID-19. And of course, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health Christine Elliott joined us today to talk about the changes to long-term care homes during the pandemic. If you missed that interview, you can catch it later on our website, yourtv.tv. That is Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And remember to watch us live at 5, Monday to Thursday, from everyone here at Cogeco News. Thanks for watching. Stay home and stay safe.